Hey, what's up, guys? Back to the podcast. This is David, and Andrew is back with us.
Hey.
Yes. So this is going to be a fun podcast, and I think we're just going to get rid of all of our ranting.
For sure.
And then next week it'll be back to normal. We'll feel better. I think we'll be a lot happier next week because we're going to get it all out now.
We just have a lot build up that we need to get out.
Yeah. First of all, I just want to advertise Drason Films a little bit. So I know 2020 has been just not great, especially for social interactions and weddings and stuff.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, I know a lot of weddings have been postponed and stuff, but just to let you guys know, if you guys do need any videography, stuff like that for weddings or films, or even if it's something smaller photo shoots or an advertisement or whatever you guys need. If you guys needed a videography service, just let me know. You can email me at drasonfilms@gmail.com.
You should do it right now, people.
Yeah, 100%. So Drason Films, check me out. Okay, that's it. I don't want to bore you guys too much, but I also wanted to get that out there.
Well, yeah.
Because then I say it in the last 5 minutes and you're okay, I'm going to turn it off now. So, okay. So this one is just kind of a list of I don't want to say people we hate, but just stuff in society that we've seen that we aren't huge fans of.
Our pet peeves, basically.
Our pet peeves of people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's I think the nicest way to describe it. Yeah. Oh my gosh, are you guys talking about me?
I guarantee that's going to come up.
Oh my gosh, I think I identify with one of these things. Are you talking about me? Are you calling me terrible? Okay, guys, shut up. Here's the thing. If we're friends with you, no, we're probably not talking about you because we choose to be friends with you.
Exactly. Exactly.
But, yeah, I mean, this is just stuff that we've seen that we don't like. And disclaimer, all the stuff that we're going to talk about, we're not here to, judge you guys.
Right,
You know, live your life the way you want. You know, take what we say with a grain of salt. And, yeah, I mean, anybody that knows both of us, knows that we're not going to judge people. We're not going to, hate on people for the sake of hating on them.
Exactly.
This is totally...
I mean, except for Meghan Markle, I do that.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, this is just ranting for the sake of ranting and just, stuff that we've seen, especially this year, I think, with all the craziness.
Well, I feel like it's one of those things, I remember when I was learning... all about the mental disorders.
Yeah.
My teacher prefaced it right off the bat. He's you're gonna see yourself in most of these. You don't have it.
Right.
So I feel like it's the same because, we can all do these things.
Yeah.
We can all do these. We all have pet peeves.
Exactly. And I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that have met us and are wow, I don't like that person.
Mm-hmm. We're not everyone's gonna like you.
Right?
So.
Yeah, and by the way, I give off the impression that I, like everyone. That's not true. I just pretend. There's
a little two-faced, Dave.
I'll put on a smile, but, there's a chance I might not like you.
We're going to talk about that later.
I'm just doing it to get through the conversation.
You're Andrea, I'm talking about you.
But I think it's one of those things, you can kind of tell, because, I don't know, I think with people that I actually like, it's more natural, and I actually like talking to you. And, I'll talk back and, make jokes and have fun and be nice to you.
Yeah.
But if I don't like you, I'm going to be, very conversationally distant. And just,
short?
Yeah, short. I'm not really, I don't know how to put it, give you the time of day almost, just because, I'm not invested in this relationship that we have. You know?
You're not putting in a lot of effort.
No.
In the conversation.
No. And that's probably unhealthy, but, what are you going to do? There are worse ways to react.
Yeah. At least you're trying to be, cordial.
Right?
I mean...
I could be Second Amendment. Yeah. I'll get my handgun upstairs, I'll do it. So I'm not that bad.
Quickly.
Anyway, so just letting you guys know the type of person I am.
You heard it here first, listeners.
Yeah. Are the police going to come to my house now? It's like, we should
maybe.
probably do a psych test on you. Okay, so before I get myself into too much trouble.
Yeah, you better be careful. I could be diagnosing you.
Right? Probably.
No.
So yeah, we'll get into it. Just, yeah. Ugh, people we don't like. So,
We should say quirks that people do that we don't like.
yeah.
Or like behaviors.
Yeah. Okay.
Make
so
it sound more PC.
I'll make my first one more general. Just people on the road, people driving. Like, I feel like everybody who has a driver's license has done something stupid in their life.
Oh, for sure.
And it's just when you're on the road that you might happen to see someone doing something stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, like, I could do an entire podcast on this subject. I could
Are you
talk
passionate about it?
Yeah, like, not in a good way. I could podcast about this for 24 hours. I could. Just like the list of things that people do that are stupid on the road. Whether it's like they tailgate you or they drive way too slow in front of you.
Yeah.
Like 10 miles per hour under the speed limit.
Oh, that's the worst.
Is so annoying.
Well, the worst is like when it's winter and people are driving like you live in Michigan. You've experienced this before. You know how to drive.
Yeah, that first snowfall in Michigan, people forget how to drive.
Always.
It's like, have you not been living here for years? And
exactly. And the thing is, the roads aren't even that affected by it.
No.
But they're still like,
I mean, there are those days when it is really bad.
Sure. Oh, for sure. There's days where you do have to definitely be like, more cautious.
But most of the time, the roads are salted by like, 7 a.m., so.
Oh, yeah.
You're fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I get it too, because there is, like, for those of you who live down south who don't know about this, like, it's something you should experience.
Oh.
Just to see, like, how terrible people truly are at driving.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
And there are, like, other things, like, that I understand. Like, there is black ice, like, ice on the road that you cannot see. Or you think, like, oh, it's just wet pavement and it's sheer ice.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that kind of stuff is more, like, understandable. But at the same time, it's like, I hate driving in a Michigan winter. It's so terrible. It's a war zone out there.
I dread it every, come November.
Like, all the riots that have been going on in the world, it's like, would I rather deal with that or a Michigan winter?
Move.
They're both terrible.
Tough call.
You're right.
Tough call.
And that's the thing too, is like, I understand that, like, I'm not the perfect driver. And like, I'm sure that, like, I've been on the interstate and I've done something stupid that, people go home and podcast about me. Like they say, there was this one guy. He wasn't going fast enough. He wasn't going 30 over the speed limit, like me.
We're all human.
Yeah.
But when you're on the opposite side of it,
you're
not thinking, oh, I do this too.
Right.
You're just like, can you speed up?
Everyone needs to drive just like me.
Right.
Then I'll be happy.
I even hate, aggressive drivers, too, who are, riding your butt. It's like, stop.
Oh, I think that's one of my biggest pet peeves is just people who tailgate you.
Oh, yeah.
Just are on your butt.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, where you gotta be. Like, you should have planned your day better.
Right?
Right? Like, set your alarm, 10 minutes earlier next time.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry that you have traffic at 8 a.m. on a Monday.
Should be expected.
Right?
You should expect that.
Right.
I mean,
I'm not responsible for your poor planning.
No.
Right?
That is not my fault.
Yeah. I better stop before I rant too much. So what's first on your list?
I would say what's first on my list is people taking my food, just in general.
Yeah.
But also without permission. Without asking first.
Yeah. Because, if they take it and they ask first, that's one thing. But if they don't ask.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about this before. It's like the episode on Friends when
yes.
Joey doesn't share food. That's you.
Yeah.
You're Joey in this situation.
A little bit.
Joey doesn't share food.
It's my favorite line. Then it's a moot point. But
it is relatable, though.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some people, maybe their social circles, like, they just do that with each other. Maybe.
If you're okay with it.
Yeah.
I feel like mine just comes from, because, sorry, Mom, but my mom will always look for the best bite of your food.
Right.
And I was like, this is my food.
My food. I'm sorry, I get the best bite.
She does. Like, she examines it a little bit.
Right.
Just to find where the best part is. It gets, like, everything.
Yeah.
It's like...
Yeah.
So I feel like that's where I'm like, no.
Right. Yeah. And, like, going off that, it's like, if you want to get, like, a side for the table, like, to share, that's fine.
Right.
Like, get some fries for the table. Hey. More for both of us, right?
Exactly. I mean...
I'd rather have too much food than you take off my plate.
Right?
Spend a few more bucks.
Exactly. But it's like one of those things that, like, I don't get. Like, I'll take it off my mom and dad's plate. And then
right?
I'm like, oh. But I hate when people do that to me.
Yeah. I think that's one of those points where, like, I'm very conscious that, like, I'm not a fan of it, so, like, I won't do it.
Yeah. I don't do it often, yeah. But I have.
Yeah, right.
But I always ask, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So.
Or if someone volunteers, it's like, hey, if you want, like, the rest of my fries, like, go ahead. Then I'm like, oh, okay. Like, you don't want the rest of your fries, sure.
Right, exactly.
Then it's like, okay, it's free game.
You offered, all right?
Right.
You offered. Yeah. It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
I'm not as bad as Joey, but
right.
I'm up there.
Right, yeah. One day you'll get there.
Well, it's like we were saying yesterday with my dog. Like, we all have this inner fat person in our
right.
in us.
Yeah.
That just loves food.
Our inner Chris Farley.
Yes, exactly.
R.I.P. God rest his soul. Such an amazing man.
That could be a whole other podcast.
It could be. We better stop before I start crying.
Right?
My next one is a big one, and I think it's especially true, like, in the last, 10 years or so, is people who are overly sensitive and get offended by absolutely everything. Like, they cannot take a joke.
Yeah, right.
And this especially, I've seen this a lot with, like, comedians or whatever, you know, where, like, they say something and someone in the audience is offended by it, and they, you know, the comedian gets heckled because, they said something they don't agree with. And it's like, first of all, you paid money to go see this person.
I was just going to bring that up. Like, that always boggles my mind because it's like, you obviously know this comedian's style because why else are you there?
Right.
You're not going to buy a ticket to someone you've never seen their stand-up to.
Yeah. So,
you know what kind of jokes they're going to make.
Yeah.
So, why are you going to go if you know you get easily offended by what he says?
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah.
I feel like it's ruining comedy.
Yeah. Like, I'm giving a shout out to one of my favorites, Bill Burr. Do you know him? Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's kind of like that, has that, like, I don't give a crap, like, I'm going to say what I want to say style.
He's one of the comedians that has come out against PC culture, hasn't he?
Has he?
I think so.
I'm not sure.
Probably because it limits your comedy.
Right. Yeah, but he's always been one to... I mean, like, he doesn't do it to the point where, like, he's a terrible person, but he's just kind of... Right. He just kind of, like, that's his comedy style. It's like, I don't give a crap, and, like, I'm going to say my comedy special, and if you get offended, you know what? Screw you. Mm-hmm. Like, you already paid me money. I'm going to say what I want to say.
You came here?
But, like, yeah. And that's the thing, too, is, like, especially this year, 2020, is, like...
Everything is sensitive.
Yeah, and, like, people are wanting Apu off The Simpsons because he's, like, a stereotypical Indian character or whatever. So there are these groups out there that freaking wanted him off it, and it's like, no, Apu is great.
Right?
Yeah. And going back to, like, Friends and stuff, like, people are coming out, like, in the last few years and saying, like, oh, I don't know about this episode. Like, there are things on it that I don't like.
Really?
Yeah, people were like, oh, when you were doing, like, younger Monica when she was fat. Like, you're fat-shaming Monica.
What?
It's like, first of all, where was this anger when this first came out? Like, why are you...
Great point,
like,
right?
why are you upset about it 15 years later?
Exactly.
And there was, like, another episode where, like, Ross and Rachel hired a babysitter for Emma, I think it was. And, like, he was... I don't know if he was gay or, like, just very...
Was it played by Freddie Prinze Jr.?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But people were just, like... Or what was it? Like...
He was a Manny.
Yeah. And also, I think this was around the time when Ross was giving his son Ben, like, toys to play with, and his son, like, wanted
the Barbie
instead, and Ross, like, wasn't okay with that. He was like, oh, I want him to play with a boy toy, and people got, like, upset by that, because they were like, oh, he should be able to play with whatever he wants to play with. It's like, again, where was this when the show first aired?
Well, exactly.
Like, you can't just be mad about something that happened 20 years ago. Like,
right?
You've been watching these episodes, I can guarantee it, for years, and you've been loving it, but now you're just choosing to be offended by it.
Exactly. Well, it's like what happened with the YouTuber Shane Dawson. Like, now all of a sudden, 10 years later, and his stuff is controversial from when he first started YouTube. Right. Where was that when it was going on?
Right.
Like, you all watched it back then.
Yeah.
That's why he's famous.
Right.
So you watched it.
Yeah.
Like...
And what's another example? What was it, a few years ago, Kevin Hart was up to nominate the Oscars, but then he got in trouble for a tweet that came out like 10 years ago where he was joking about something. I don't even know what he was joking about, but...
Well, and Jimmy Fallon had the same thing, too.
Yeah. And got to the point where Kevin Hart is like, I don't want to host the Oscars because if you guys are going to be like this, I'm not going to do it.
I heard that.
Which, honestly, props to Kevin Hart. He's like, you know what, if you're going to be that sensitive, I'm not even going to do it.
Oh, for real?
Like...
For real?
I'm siding with Kevin Hart on that one.
Oh, me too.
And this is another point. These overly sensitive people are picking and choosing what they want to be sensitive about. Mm-hmm. Because you got upset with Jimmy Fallon because, like, who did he impersonate on? Chris Rock on Saturday Night Live. First of all...
Which means it had to go through the NBC, like, higher-ups. Like, they don't
It had to go through them. Also, it's a freaking comedy show. Like, they're not being serious. They're joking.
He's impersonating a character, like...
Yeah.
A character, I think, that Chris Rock played.
Yeah. Like, so, like, one of my biggest things is, like, he's impersonating a black character. Okay. But what happened in Tropic Thunder when Robert Downey Jr. was impersonating a black guy? You're not upset at RDJ for that?
Right.
Why not?
Exactly.
Why are you picking and choosing the type of people that you hate on? Oh, is it because you like Robert Downey Jr. because he's Iron Man? Like, if you're going to be mad at one person, be mad at the entire thing. Do not pick and choose who you're offended by.
Well, and they're not even looking at the context of half of this stuff. And they're just getting offended. Yeah. Like, look at the context.
Right.
Jimmy Fallon didn't come up with that.
Right. He's an actor.
He might have helped with the skit, because I know some of them help write skits.
But he's not going out on the street in blackface and be like, I hate black people, you know?
Exactly.
It's a comedy sketch.
Chris Rock wasn't offended by it,
and that's another huge point, is like, dude, Chris Rock was not offended by it. Why is everyone else getting offended by it on his behalf?
Right?
Like, don't get offended on someone's behalf.
I know. It's not that hard.
Yeah. That's one of the biggest things, because, like...
Well, you can't judge what, like, was acceptable back then by what is acceptable now.
Right.
Like, you can't judge it. It was a different time, different mindset. Like,
yeah. And that's one of the things I noticed, especially about Disney films, because I have Disney Plus, and, you know, I've seen some of those classic, you know, princess movies or whatever on there, and, you know, there are definitely some films out there that Disney made that, like, can kind of be, like, sketchy, kind of, you know? Like, I'm thinking of, like, the Aristocats, if you've seen that one.
A long time ago, but I know what you're talking about.
There was a scene in there when, you know, Thomas O'Malley and like the family of cats or whatever, like
Mm-hmm.
they go to O'Malley's like hangout spot with all the other cats,
Okay.
and like each cat kind of like is a stereotype of different cultures. Like there's a Chinese cat, there's a Russian cat, there's like a French cat, and they're all like very stereotypical representations of each of these cultures. Like, first of all, like I don't see people getting offended by that. And also, like, what I do like about Disney, what they did, at least for some of these films on Disney Plus, is before the movie starts, they do have a disclaimer that says, like, this is a film that came out a while ago with different mindsets and different, like, you know, ideas in mind.
Oh, they have that?
Yeah, for some of them. And they said, like, these ideas do not reflect what we believe in now. And and they're not a representation of the films that we do now, but this is our history, and we shouldn't get rid of it just because...
Yeah, you can't erase it.
Yeah. Like, for me, I love the Aristocats. Like, that is an amazing film. It's awesome, it's funny, it's cute, it's great animation.
Right?
So, like, I want it to be around, and, like, I totally get that, you know, there are things in there that probably aren't the best, but, like, I get that, and, like, I'm not gonna go around being hateful for these cultures because of something I saw in a film.
Well, and you can't, like, have it both ways, right? You can't want cultures represented.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. You want it in a respectful way. I understand that.
Yeah.
But, like, also I think it comes to a point where it's, like, you can't want them represented, but... And then get pissed at people having them in there.
Yeah.
In a certain way. I don't know.
There are so many points that, like, we can touch on with this, but, like...
Yeah, and it gets very, like, it can easily get political, one.
Yeah.
And two, it's just a very, like, it's a subjective thing, which I think is why it's kind of...
Right, like, everyone has their own opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Yeah.
So, disclaimer, this is just our opinion.
Right. Except not really, because, like, you guys are terrible. If you're overly sensitive.
I was talking about the movies, but yeah.
Yeah, oh okay. Well, that too.
Yeah, right.
All right, what's next for you?
My next one is constantly talking on the phone while we're having a conversation.
Yeah. Or texting.
Yeah. Like, it just bothers me.
Yeah.
It's
it makes it seem like you're not engaged in our conversation or whatever.
Like, you're not interested in what I have to say, even if, like...
Right. Or, like, if you have an important call, just be like, let us know, like, okay, like, I have an important call, like, I'll be just a minute, like, let us know that you have, like, your mind is only on one thing.
Right, like, hey, this is important, I gotta take it.
Right. Like,
I'll be right back.
And that's so much easier than, like, trying to talk on the phone and also try to pay attention to you.
Well, yeah, I mean, you really can't.
Right. Like, those people that say they can, like, I don't buy it.
No. No. It's just, like, the worst is texting when you'll, like, call their name to be like, hey, you know, whoever you're talking to, did you see this? And then they're like, yeah, but then they get on their phone because they got a text.
Right.
And then you can tell they're not listening because they're texting. And then you call their name, like, twice, and they're like, what? It's like, really?
You clearly weren't paying attention.
We were in the middle of a conversation.
Yeah.
Or the conversation was just starting. Like, put your phone down.
Yeah. It's just annoying.
And then we wonder why people are, like, there's a lot more, like, social anxieties and, like, social, like, difficulties. With, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
This is kind of a tangent on that, but, like, especially kids nowadays, like, they have their phones and they're on Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat, and, like, this is such a tangent on what, like, your point was, but, like...
No, go on.
I feel so bad for kids nowadays.
Oh.
Like, because when we were kids, you know, in the early 2000s and stuff, like, we had to deal with, like, you know, trying to fit in, like, socially.
Mm-hmm. So you had to learn a lot.
Yeah. But now, kids have to fit in socially, but also they have to, like... try to compete socially on Instagram.
Well, I think it's changed how they socialize.
Yeah. But also, like, I'm sure there are kids out there that are thinking, like, oh, my selfie didn't get as many likes.
And that's how it's changed, right? Because, like, we never had to think about that.
Right.
When we got home,
like,
we were home.
Yeah. And, like, we didn't have to deal with people, except for our friends, maybe, if they came over.
Right.
But now kids are, like, uploading, like, filtered selfies and, like...
Yeah.
Like, they're competing for, like, attention, basically. And, like, if a selfie isn't good, like, there's, like, cyberbullying, and which is, I'm sure, so much bigger now than it was 10 years ago.
Oh, I'm sure.
And, you know, yeah, like I said, like, I'm sure there's those people that, like, I didn't get 500 likes like Chelsea did.
Right.
So it's like there's clearly something better about Chelsea than there is about me. So, like, I'm sure there's low self-image.
Well, yeah, because they're so young, they don't know how to, like, deal with all of that.
Yeah. So, like, those poor 12-year-olds that are...
I know. Well, they don't get to have that awkward stage, like...
Yeah.
You know?
They have to have that stage of, like, I have to be and look perfect.
Well, yeah, and they're getting into makeup so much younger, which isn't necessarily, like... If it can, like, hone your creative abilities. So, in that sense, it's not a bad thing. But it also puts that even more added pressure onto, like...
Yeah.
When I was 12, I didn't have to worry. I didn't even worry about makeup.
If you do, like, a side-and-side comparison of, like, things a 10-year-old wears in the 90s versus today...
yeah.
Like, we looked ugly back then. Like, I don't know what fashion trends we had, but they were not great.
We were talking about that on Friday. You had the Hollister shirt that you, like, layered.
Yeah.
Or the polos that you layered. You showed, like, an inch of skin because you wore, like, your low-rise jeans and, like...
Yeah.
I don't know what the fashion was for guys necessarily, but, like, I remember... But, like, I feel like because we didn't have so much influence from social media, it wasn't as much pressure on kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. Poor kids.
I like when I grew up because, like...
Like, I don't think we appreciated it because we didn't know about Instagram yet, obviously, because it wasn't a thing.
No.
But, like, looking back, it's like our childhood, I think, in that sense, was better than it is today.
Oh, for sure.
So.
You have to worry about the internet.
Yeah.
And constantly being in contact with people.
Yeah. No, it's not fun.
No
matter what age you are, but especially for kids, I think.
It's harder for them to process all of that.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right.
What's your next one?
So, this is a big one for me, is, like, I don't know if I could, like, tag arrogance into this, but also people that, like, absolutely have to be right. And they do not accept or believe opinions for anyone else.
Like, these kind of people that always turn things into, like, an argument, kind of.
Yeah. And it's like, if you don't believe what I believe, like, we can't be friends, or, like, we can't have a normal conversation.
Yeah. Like, they always try to counteract you.
Yeah. And it can get, like, the reasons why someone might not like you can be so simple. Like, if I'm a Republican and you're a Democrat, like, oh, that's all I need to know. You're a terrible person. Because you don't believe the same political things that I believe. It's like, okay, you don't even know who I am as a person.
Right. Right. Well, that can be a whole other tangent. Like, not even in the political realm and outside of it, like, one little characteristic does not define who that person is.
Right.
Like, just because they have lean more ways towards...
And, like, I almost think that these people are, like, more simple-minded almost, because they can't, like, expand their mind in a sense.
They're more closed-minded.
Yeah.
Even though they claim to be open.
Like, even, like, I'll just use a fun topic, for example, like, if I say, oh, I love Lord of the Rings, like, that's my favorite trilogy, like, you could totally snap back and be like, no, Lord of the Rings sucks. I love Harry Potter. That's the most amazing group of films ever. And, like, you could, like, get pissed off at me for that. Like, why?
Well, why?
But why?
Because a lot of those things are subjective, right?
Here's the thing, is, like, I understand that Harry Potter is a great franchise. It's amazing. Like, there's a reason why it's so popular. Like, personally for me, like, I love Lord of the Rings a little more, but that doesn't mean I don't love Harry Potter.
Well, And I kind of see it the same way, right? Like, with Lord of the Rings, like, just because I tried to watch it, and I'll give it, and I want to watch it again.
Yeah.
But, like, I also, it would be silly for me to be like, how dare you?
Right.
Like Lord of the Rings. It's like, no.
Right.
Just like how I like things more.
Yeah.
You like something else. Like, there's no, it's so subjective.
Yeah.
And it's not personal. It's not like a personal attack. It's just what they like, you know?
Yeah. I think I'm seeing a thread between, like, our rants is, like, a lot of what we're angry about is people who can't live, like, subjectively. It's, like, and see other people for who they are.
Yeah. Very black and white thinking.
Yeah, like, closed-minded people, you know? Just, it's not fun.
That's another pet peeve is when they're like, I'm open-minded. Are you, though?
If you have to say you're open-minded, you're probably not open-minded.
Just like, if you have to say you're racist, you're not racist.
Or, like, if you say, I'm not racist, but... You're probably going to say something racist.
Just throwing that out there.
Right?
Yeah, no, it's...
Yeah. That's just not fun. People who need to be right. And those are... Okay, I will say that those are the people that I don't want to be friends with.
Yeah, well...
Because those are, like we said, like, those are the people that just start arguments all the time. Because they need to be right. So it's like, why would I want to hang around that?
Right? Well, and that's one thing you learn as, like, as a therapist, at least I've learned it, and I've known my colleagues have said kind of similar things, is, like, when you actually listen to someone.
Yeah.
And not just go on the defensive.
Right.
It's, like, a completely different... It makes you more open-minded because you don't automatically just assume.
Yeah. And those are... Yeah, these small, closed-minded people are just people that don't give you the time of day to explain yourself.
Yeah.
Like, they just see your opinion as an opinion and know that they don't agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
So why would they want to hear your side of the story?
Right.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and that's the thing is just, if you actually take time to be like, huh.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting belief. Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
It goes a long way.
Or maybe those are the kind of people that don't want to just hear your side of it. I don't know. I'm sorry this podcast isn't as fun or funny as it has been in the past.
Let's get on to a funny one.
Right.
Let's see. My next one is people who are chronically late.
Yeah.
Not that I think it's funny because, like, they always end up apologizing. And I know I've probably done this because I'm never perfectly on time all the time.
Right.
But
well, no one is.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Things happen, and there are those people that are late, like, once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, you probably had a good reason. Because you're not usually like this. But it's those people that every single time you hang out with them, they're a half hour, an hour late.
Right. And then you're like, okay.
So if we're meeting at 3 o'clock, should I just say, okay, meet me at 2? Then maybe you'll show up on time?
That's a trick Armenians do, because there's, like, that Armenian...
Yeah.
Like, Armenian time, we call it.
Okay.
And so, like, if you want people to come over at, like, 3, you tell them it starts at 2:30.
Right.
Because then they end up being there by 3.
I mean, that's kind of a good tactic, almost.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you know someone is chronically late, like, just tell them to come a half hour earlier.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And then...
Which you shouldn't have to do, but, like, unfortunately, with some people, you do have to do that.
Well, it helps kind of, like, with your frustrations.
Yeah.
You know?
You know?
So...
Because, yeah, that's... Like, you're kind of wasting my time if I'm waiting for you.
Exactly.
You know? Like, I could have gotten stuff done.
Not only that, it's like, okay, then... Or if you're meeting somewhere, you have to sit in your car.
Yeah, which is awkward. Or you have to sit inside...
But, yeah.
By yourself and feel awkward.
I swear I'm not being stood up. I promise.
My friends are just terrible.
They're just constantly late. It's fine.
Oh, no.
So what's your next one?
Mine is very, very, very specific. I hate man buns.
I mean, respect, okay?
I hated the man bun phase, and I know they're like those guys that still kind of try to pull that off, and just stop.
More hipster.
Like, to everyone else that has not worn a man bun, we hate you. We don't like it. It's not a good look. Like, I don't know why people did that. Like, either wear your hair down, or if you don't want it down, cut it off. Because we don't want... It's not a good look. For guys. For girls, it's all right, because women wear buns all the time.
Yeah.
But, like, for a guy, just, you look like a hipster and not the good kind. I don't know if that's what you're trying to achieve, the hipster look, but, like, just...
Probably.
That's the worst part of a hipster, is the bun.
The man bun?
The man bun. I'm going to get called out for this by someone who wears a man bun.
Totally.
And guess what? I don't care.
It's your opinion. You're not saying you're like, you do you, but like, doesn't mean I have to
Please
agree
don't
with
do
it.
you.
Doesn't mean...
Please do a different you.
I like to see it, okay?
What's your next one?
Being ignored.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
It's like when people text you and then you like immediately call them because it's like, you're driving or it's too long to text or whatnot. And they don't answer.
Yeah.
It's like, I know you're by your phone.
Right.
You literally just texted me.
Yeah. And there are those like exceptions where it's like I've definitely done this where it's like, I honestly thought that I responded to you and I didn't.
Oh, I'm notorious for that.
Yeah. Where it's like an hour or two will go by and it's like, why aren't they responding to me? Oh, I didn't respond to them.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm like so ADHD that way where it's like...
Well, and that's one of those things that like, again, you kind of know that about a person. It's like, okay, if they're usually good about texting me back and they're not this time, they're probably doing something.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
But there are those people, like you said, that just don't text back for an hour and they just continuously do that.
But then they're on social media. And you're like, okay, I know you're on your phone.
You're on your phone right now. And they posted something via their phone.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, okay, so you're on your phone.
Right?
Like, you're not so sneaky.
Right. Or it's like, it kind of goes hand in hand with like when people cancel plans because they're sick. But then they forget that they told you that.
Right.
And they post something.
Yeah. Like they post themselves at the club or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ugh.
But you gotta be careful with that, because if you call in for work, but you're posting shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Another danger of social media.
Mm-hmm. What am I was talking to someone and they said, kind of going back to the kids, they're like, I feel bad for kids. Whatever they do now, they can't get away with it because they post everything.
Yeah.
Like, we could get away with it.
Yeah.
I'm like, well...
Not that I ever did anything bad. Right, Mom? I did nothing bad.
I literally didn't, but
Remember how the neighbor's house caught on fire? Yeah, that wasn't me. Okay, if that actually did happen, like, that honestly wasn't me. I don't know if that did happen or not. But if it did, it honestly wasn't me. That was a joke.
Wait, story time. Did the neighbor's house actually catch on fire?
No.
Okay, good.
That's why I'm saying, like, if it did and I just don't remember it, like, that wasn't me.
Oh. Nope.
But, I mean, that's kind of the kid way, is like, you do stuff you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
And, like, personally for me, like, I never did anything, like, really that bad.
Yeah,
but, like, in the grand scheme of things, like, I never murdered anyone.
I would hope not.
Right? But, I've done stuff I shouldn't have.
We all have.
And I've gone behind people's back, because, like, you're a kid, right?
Exactly.
Like, it's gonna happen. But, yeah, like we said, like, with the dangers of social media, like, it's hard to get away with stuff now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whether you're a kid or an adult. Except with a kid, I think it's worse, because, like, you're worse at lying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
So social media, it's, like, that much easier to get caught.
I know. Well, and it just can cause so much trouble in, like, every area of life.
Yeah.
It's...
Well, I got off of Facebook just for so many reasons, but, you know, part
that
of it is
a whole other rant.
Yeah, ugh, social media, it's just not great. That's another common thread between this podcast. Social media is not great.
No.
No matter what age you're at, it's just not good.
There's, like, for me, I find there's more downsides to it than positives.
Yeah.
But yet I'm still on it all the
time.
FOMO. Fear of missing out, all right?
Yeah, right.
What's your next one?
Mine is, like, I don't have a whole lot on this one, but, like, people who are snobby, like, I think for an example, like, if somebody makes more money than you and they just rub it in your face,
Oof.
like, oh my gosh, look at my Porsche. Isn't it great?
Oh, yeah.
Like, okay, stop.
Right?
You're just being annoying and snobby.
Exactly. I agree with that. I feel like it goes either way for me, personally. Like, if you're constantly like, oh, I make this, or look at this, look at what I got. Or the opposite, where it's like, I have nothing.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay, I get it. But, like, if you're, like, because I've had friends where I'll just be like, oh, you know, when we moved, a bunch of my friends, like, I had been living in our old house for a long time. So me and my mom were like, it's not that we didn't like our new house, because we liked it. But, like, we were just, like, having a difficult time transitioning.
Yeah.
And a bunch of my friends were like, you should be grateful. And it's like, I get where they're coming from, absolutely.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it wasn't the fact of, like, we were moving. Yeah. It was more of, like, or the house.
Yeah.
It was more of, like, it was just that hard. Like, we've been there for 18 years. Like, it's hard to, like...
Yeah.
Move.
Right.
And not live there.
Yeah.
So, like, when you have, like... I'm constantly, like, friends who you can't say anything to because you have it better. So you have no reason to feel bad.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. And, like, with, you know, with people that don't make as much and, like, they rub it in your face, like you were saying, like, you kind of, like, part of you is like, okay, I feel bad, but at the same time it's like, you know, don't rub it in my face.
Well, yeah.
You know, like, if you need help, like, ask, and, like, if I can help you out, I will, but, like, if you're just saying it to say it, like, I can only give you so much sympathy.
Exactly.
Like, I can only pour my heart out for you so much.
Right.
Right.
Right. No, I agree.
So, I don't know. And that, like I said, like, that's something you got to be sensitive about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the one thing I will, like, be sensitive about.
It makes sense, though.
Yeah.
I mean...
Like, it's...
You gotta be respectful or, like, conscious of who you're talking to.
Right. Because that's the thing, like, I can be a lot less sensitive to people who make a lot of money and rub it in your face.
I feel like that's a societal thing.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, just... If you're not going to give me money, then just be quiet. If you're not going to offer some up, like, stop talking. Yeah, did you have any others?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Those are my, like, big ones.
Yeah.
But I feel like I kind of agree with the rest of yours, too.
Yeah, so, like, I guess this is a good, like, transition one. Kind of talking about, like, people who make a lot of money is, like, if you make a lot of money, like, that's fine. Like, good for you. Like, you make a lot. Like, that's fine. But it's, like, for me, it's, like, the old school wealth, you know? Like, where you're born into it and, like, you've never known a hard day in your life. And, like, you have to, like, just play, like, this fancy... Like,
immediately what comes to mind is, like, that old Southern money.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, we play polo on the weekends.
Which is, like... This is where my, like, therapist comes in. Because it's, like, I'm sure they still have problems.
Yeah, I'm sure they do, of course.
But, like...
People constantly ask me for money.
Sure. Money doesn't take away all your problems, but
it solves a lot of them.
Sometimes, yeah. This is my therapist mind.
What was that one quote? It's like, I have 99 problems and money could solve at least 70 of them.
Or there's a country song, it's like, money can't buy me happiness, but it can buy me a boat.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, and, like, I get it, because I also feel like it's when it's being put into, like, I think it goes for both sides, right? It's all about how your attitude about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Because, like, we made the relationship, it's like Elon Musk. Like, yeah, like, he's a wealthy guy, but, like, has such a chill personality.
But you would never know.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Like, if you didn't really know him that well and you just met him on the street, like, you would never know, like, how much money he makes. 'Cause
exactly.
He's such a chill guy. It's like, those are the, like, you know, I'm all for rich people, like, you know, if you want to send a few thousand my way, that's fine. But, like...
Hint, hint.
You know? Elon Musk. But...
You could spare $1 million.
Yeah, right. But, like, I like those people a lot more if they're...
Sure, right.
If they are cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know? But if they're big brats, like, selfish and...
Yeah.
Like, they're uptight or whatever. Just those bad versions of the wealthy.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm. It's all about your attitude about it.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, too, is, like, if you do make something for yourself and, like, whatever, the Amazon guy, Jeff Bezos, like, how much is he worth? Billions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, like, I totally appreciate the fact that you started, it's, like, super small and you didn't really have much and now you're, like, one of the richest people in history. Like, that's an incredible accomplishment. But at the same time, you don't need all that money.
Right.
How many lifetimes would it take you to go through all your money?
Yeah.
Like,
right?
I think that's kind of a tangent. That's another pet peeve for me. It's like, these wealthy people, it's like, dude, you realize you do not need all that money. Like, I don't know if you're trying to make a statement, but, like, you don't need all that. Like, Jeff Bezos could solve hunger in America.
You'll be able to support your great-great-grandchildren.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine.
Like, you could solve the hunger problem in the U.S., the homelessness problem in the U.S.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and you wouldn't even...
And still be okay.
Yeah, you'd still be totally fine. I'm sure he could get, like, a Ferrari for everyone in the... Okay, maybe not that much. Maybe not. But...
I get what you're saying. He
yeah.
could do a lot.
Yeah. Like, there are so many people in our own country that are struggling, and you think, like, if the top 1%...
Agreed.
If the top 1%...
Did something about it?
Yeah. And it's like, I don't... Like, of course, like, I'm not the top 1%, like, so, like, I don't know what goes through their mind, but it's like, you guys could pull together your money, solve all the negative crap that's going on in this country, and not even bat an eye.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, why aren't you?
Right?
Like, I gotta believe that it's, like, selfishness with your money, because, like, why would you not help out people who are in need?
Because it seems so simple.
Right.
So it's like...
Like, I'm sure it's more complicated than what I'm making it out to be.
Well, maybe there's reasons we don't even...
Right.
Haven't even thought of. I don't know. But it does seem very simple, so it's like, why isn't it...
And it's as simple as, like, you pass a homeless person on the street and they ask for money. Like, if Bill Gates passed him and was like, okay, he could fork over a couple $100.
See, the problem with that is they don't... like, they could be using it for their drug or alcohol addiction. Well, not all of them do.
Yeah.
Not all homeless people do.
Of course.
But, like, my stance on it is, if I pass a homeless person, I'd rather go and buy them a meal.
Yeah.
Than hand them, like,
exactly.
$10. Like, I'll go get you McDonald's or...
Yeah. But, like, even these wealthy people, like, they could set up programs to, like, get these people helped out.
Or
like,
no, you're right. Those programs could be better funded.
Like, make homeless shelters out of abandoned buildings. Get these homeless people jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Help them out. Like, it's... it is more than
give
just
them
like
more access to those resources, because half
Yeah.
of them don't even know that
yeah.
there are those resources out there.
Yeah. And you're right, it is so much more than like just handing a random guy $1.
Yeah. I had to work at a homeless shelter during my internship for a second. So that's where, like, I learned a lot about that, because I thought the same thing, right? Like,
Right.
oh, just give them some money or go give them food. And they were actually like, no, that actually kind of keeps them in the cycle of homelessness.
Right.
I was like, interesting.
Yeah.
Because they get comfortable.
Yeah. Which is crazy because they're homeless and starving.
Yeah. You're right. It's like a weird cycle you don't even think happens.
But, like, at the same time, like...
But something has to be done.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But no, you're right. Like, the 1% could, like... Not even just, like, for homeless, like, just help fund, like, community mental health places.
Right.
Homeless shelters, like, make sure people are more aware of the resources that are actually out there.
Right.
Because there's more than people think, you know?
Yeah.
And, yeah. Because there are programs that help, like, homeless find jobs and...
And, like... Yeah, personal story for me is, like, I went to school for education before I switched over to film.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I did student teaching, and I've been in, like, you know, during school I was in, like, 10 different schools, like, for whatever I was doing, just helping out, or whatever class that I was taking. And it's crazy, like, some of these kids, like, they don't have a good home to go to.
Yeah.
You know, like, they go to a home and they don't have dinner.
Right.
You know, or they rely on schools to, like, get their food, get their lunch, which is, like, why it broke my heart when, like, the schools closed down because of COVID. It's like, okay,
I know.
These are less meals that these kids are getting.
Right.
Like, that's the kind of stuff that, like, breaks my heart, is, like...
Oh. I was, like, felt so bad because I'm, like, thinking about those kids.
Yeah.
I think about people who are in, like, domestic violent relationships, and now they can't get out of their house.
Right.
And stuck with the person who's being violent.
Yeah.
Like...
And, yeah, I just think, like, if I were in the top 1%, maybe it's because, like, I have seen this stuff in the world. Like, I wasn't blinded by my wealth. Like, I did grow up, like, seeing this stuff firsthand, so, like, my heart goes out to these people.
No, I think you're right, though. I feel like that brings up a good discussion about, we always nag on the rich, especially, like, with, like, old money.
Right.
And it's understandable. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but then not a lot of people, and I didn't even really think about this either, but think about, like, just like how we're raised with our experiences.
Yeah.
That's how they are.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, they can't help it as much as we can't help how we were raised.
Right.
And our experience, you know?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm thinking, like, if I get into film and, like, I start making, like, you know, if I do get to that point where I'm making good money, like, I don't want to, like, totally just back out of, like, the stuff that I believed growing up.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I don't want to get blinded by, you know, anything. Like, if I'm...
It would only be natural, but I feel like after a while, you'd have these beliefs for so long it would come out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or, like, you also have, like, your friends and family that kind of, like, knock some sense into you.
Keep you grounded.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting.
Got deep.
Yeah, it did. This is kind of, like, a good transition as well into the next one. Is, like, I'm just not a huge fan of, like, spoiled brats. Like, I really don't know how else to put it. Like, just, like, people that were spoiled.
Entitled.
Yeah, entitled. Yeah. And, like, I think a lot of this comes out kind of in childhood, where, like, these kids were kind of taught, like, I can get anything I want, and I'm spoiled, and, like, all I have to do is, like, ask mom and dad for, like, stuff, and they'll get it for me. And
Kind of like we're all a product of our...
Yeah. And, yeah, we talked about this before. It's like, I don't blame the kids for this kind of stuff. Like, there are those kids out there that are so entitled, so spoiled, and it's like, I honestly, like, yeah, if you look at it, like, face on, like, yeah, these kids, like, just are not great, but it's like, you gotta think, like, where it started.
Right.
And it's like, they asked their parents for something, and their parents got it for them.
Mm-hmm.
They're spoiled and entitled because they're parents.
Well, it's that nature versus nurture debate.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's kind of, well, I won't get into that, but it's that we're all a product of our environment. Like, we don't know any better because that's what we grew up with.
Yeah.
And that's not really our fault because we're a child and we're learning to base off our world and our perspective off of what our home life essentially.
Like, if you were raised in the hood, you're gonna be a product of that environment. And, like, if you were raised in the big city, you're gonna have that fast-paced, crazy environment, whereas you live in a small town, you know.
Right.
You're not gonna know what the other side is like.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And, like, I get that, like, everyone has, like, unique experiences and, like, everyone's different, but, like, just those people that, like...
Well, no, it doesn't, like, discount and negate the fact that, like, if you're entitled, you're still entitled, and it's annoying.
It is, and it's, like, it turns you into an annoying adult. Just an entitled adult.
Well, yeah.
And it turns you into a not great person.
I could so get political right now, but I'm not going to.
Ooh, you could go so many ways with this.
I could.
But...
I feel like that's why socialism is on the rise, though.
Yeah.
With the younger generation. Because there's a sense of, like, gimme, gimme, gimme.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think, like, I was out in San Francisco last week, and I got to talk to my brother, and he made a good point that, like, I think this is true for me, where economically, I'm more of a Republican, and
like fiscally?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, like, socially, I'm more of a Democrat.
Okay, that makes sense.
You know?
That makes sense.
Like, I'm more like, you know, everyone should be equal, and, like, you know.
Right, yeah.
Like...
No, I know a lot of people are like that. Who are like that, actually.
Yeah.
Because I think Republicans make more sense economically.
Right.
But Democrats can sometimes make more sense in the social policies.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So, no, I get that.
Yeah, I think that's the only political thing I'll say. But, yeah, that just... people who are entitled just rub me the wrong way.
Well, yeah, because they have that just gimme, gimme, gimme attitude.
Yeah, and of course, like, they don't know that that's wrong because that's what they grew up with.
Right. They never had to work.
Right. Or going back to, like, wealth, like, they never grew up.
They never understood the importance of really, like...
Yeah.
A dollar.
They never... Yeah, exactly. Like, they don't know the value of a dollar and how important it is to everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that's something that they don't have to deal with. Like, of course, like, they have their own problems that, like, you and I could never understand.
Yeah, but I think at the end of the day, we all, like, bleed. So, like, their problems might look a little different.
Yeah.
But we still feel the same emotions.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, our problems are so different. Like... they may not have money problems, but, like, they do have other problems.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think what makes such a big difference is, like, so, I don't know if you've ever heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
So, like, when you look at that, you're looking at the bottom of your, like, people who need their basic needs are needing to be met.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at other people who've never had their basic needs threatened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They've always been okay and always had a house.
Yeah.
And money and...
So for the people that may not know, like, the bottom... like, your most basic... your most basic need is at the bottom, and that's like food, water, clothing, shelter, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of go up the chain, and it's like, I don't want to say that stuff is like less important, because it's just as important, but at the same time, the bottom of the hierarchy is like the most important. Like, it's the most basic needs you need to live your life.
And that's more stressful when you don't have...
And, like, I think... And, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but, like, I think the higher up you get in the list, like, the more moral it is, almost. Or, like... Because, again, I don't want to say it's less important.
It's not less important, but it's not... I want to look this up on my phone really quick, but, like...
Hold, please. We're looking up information.
All I know is, like, you need to really, before you can address any of the other higher up parts, any of the higher needs, you need to address the bottom need.
Like, you have to start at the bottom and work your way up.
It's like a house, right?
Yeah. Like, you have to start with a good foundation.
Good foundation before you can even...
Because if you work on the roof before you have a good foundation, okay, the entire house could come down.
Exactly. So that's kind of how I look at it. Like, it's equally as important.
Yeah.
But not as necessary, maybe?
Yeah. Well, like, so what's an example of, like, one that's higher up?
I know love and, it's love and starts with, like, a C.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so above your psychological needs. So that's the food, water, warmth, rest, shelter. Then you have your safety needs. So that's feeling secure and safe.
Right.
Which both of those are your basic needs.
Yeah.
And then you go into your psychological needs, which are your belongingness and love. And so that's like your friends and your intimate relationships and like all of that. Like, that's as equally important, which I think coronavirus showed us, right? We need that human interaction. But then you have your self-esteem needs. So like both of those are your psychological. And then you have your self-fulfillment needs, which not a lot of people get to those.
Yeah. I don't know if this was my AP psychology class when I was a senior in high school, or if I just read this somewhere else, but like, didn't they do like experiments with like animals where like one animal had just food and that's it, and one animal had food plus
with the monkey. Yeah.
Food like plus.
So one was a wire monkey.
Okay.
Or I think they both had
like food, water.
No, okay, so one was the monkey was had a blanket and warmth. Oh my god, why am I blanking? Hold. Let me Google.
This is like such a big tangent on like we don't like spoiled brats, but like this is kind of like the psychology behind it almost.
Yeah, so I think what you're talking about is like they're talking about more of it goes into Maslow's for sure, because he did this more to look at bonds that we can form and like what creates bonds. But I feel like that goes into both your psychological needs and your basic needs, right? Because as a child, you need that bond to feel safe and secure. Yeah. And so...
Well, I think the point of it was, like, if you get your most basic needs met, like food, water, clothing, like, like, you're surviving. But if you also have your psychological needs met, like, that bond, like comfort, love, friendship, if you have all that stuff too, like...
Yeah. Well, you can't... I think basically you need all your basic needs met before you can even really worry about the other needs.
Yeah. Like, it's hard to worry about love if you're starving.
Right.
You know?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Or if you're dying of thirst.
What? Yeah. But as a child, and this is like for adults for sure, but I feel like as children,
yeah,
part of your basic needs is having that love and security.
Yeah,
like,
right.
So what his experiment is like, he really showed the importance of early attachment, affection, and emotional bonds. And so he did it where one monkey they were both wire monkeys.
Yeah.
And my gosh, where is the... So he put the monkeys in isolation.
Yeah.
And then, which is totally not ethical and could never happen nowadays.
Yeah, no.
This happened in the 60s. So
back when you could get away with stuff.
Yeah. So this is what, for you guys who don't know, this was done by Harry Harlow. I could oh my gosh. Psychological experiments.
We'll do a psychological podcast. How about that?
Oh, these are like, it's so interesting to me. But anyway, so the short version is that he put these monkeys into isolation, and he looked at, one was made of a soft terry cloth, but didn't have food.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had a wire monkey but the wire monkey had food. And what he realized is that even though, which kind of goes against a little what we were saying earlier, but like even though that wire monkey had food and had a basic need, those monkeys went to the softer monkey.
Yeah.
And so they went to the mom who was softer and was made of terry cloth versus the wire one who had food.
Right.
So he that's why he was showing, like, as children, we don't need our basic needs met. We need our psychological needs met. We're going to gear more towards the warmth.
Yeah.
As children.
Mm-hmm.
I could talk for hours.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll do a podcast about psychology and all that stuff. Because, like, that fascinates me, too. You know?
Dude, that's why my major was, like I just got I can talk for hours.
Yeah.
And all
I could talk for hours about terrible drivers on the road.
Yeah. And talk about experiments.
Right.
Psychological experiments.
Well, I want to kind of end it on a fun note.
Yeah.
With my last point. The last people I hate, and I should rephrase, I don't, hate these people. Mm-hmm. Or strongly dislike, but it's just, like, the typical, stereotypical drunk girl.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because, like, I've worked, Because
they can be hard to deal with.
Yeah. Because I haven't, like, been to the club, really. That isn't my scene. But, I've worked weddings with the company that I work with.
So you probably see a lot of drunk girls.
I see a lot of drunk girls, and, like, yeah, some of them aren't as crazy or, like, are more, like, tame or whatever, but it's the ones that are just crazy. Like, they just let loose because they don't have work tomorrow.
Do you see a lot of them, like, hitting on guys? Or you? Like...
No, well...
I feel like that's part of the stereotypical, isn't it? Like...
Yeah, but when I work wedding, I think with weddings, there are less single girls.
Okay, I could see that.
Like, if...
You might have the one or two that are single.
Yeah, like if you go to the club, you get the group of single girls.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go to a wedding, it's usually like a girl and her plus one.
That's true.
So of course they're gonna bring their guy.
Right, of course.
So yeah, I think I see less at weddings, but of course, those girls that are taken are still crazy.
Oh yeah.
Because you get enough alcohol in them, and they just.
That impression was great.
Oh my gosh, this is my song. Katie, come out. This is my song.
Well, I mean, I feel like to even further your point, or further prove your point, Luke Bryan's Play It Again. Like, oh my god, this is my song.
I love Riri. She's my girl. I am Riri. I'm her. She gets me.
We're best friends. I just feel like we'd be best friends, okay? Which actually, Taylor Swift, we would be best friends, just saying.
Okay. Shout out Taylor Swift.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but like going up to the DJ and just like, can you play this song? And it's like, no. Shut up.
I'm sure you get that so much. I'm not gonna lie.
And like drunk.
I do that not drunk. We're
right.
like, can you play this song?
And I will say the one entertaining thing is watching a group of drunk girls on the dance floor. That is just so entertaining to watch because they're never good.
I was gonna say, you have to find some entertainment out of them.
Yeah, so...
Because they're so obnoxious.
Right.
And I say this knowing full well, I've probably been there.
Yeah. And I can guarantee, like, and I, of course this isn't just about girls. Like, there are guys out there that are just as crazy. But I will say, like, the girls that I've seen that are just crazy at a wedding or a party or the club, they're usually followed by their boyfriend apologizing for them. Because I've had this so many times when a girl would come up to me and she would just, like, say the stupidest things, and 5 seconds later, her boyfriend would come up to me like, dude, I'm so sorry you had to hear that.
Like the story you were telling me earlier?
Yeah, ugh.
About that one? Yeah.
Maybe one day I'll be brave enough to tell this. I'm just crazy girls and, like, their boyfriends apologizing for them. You know?
Which is...
Because, of course, this is very, like, stereotypical, but, like, a crazy drunk girl and an equally drunk guy, guys that I've personally seen at least are a lot more chill.
I was gonna say, like, you don't have a stereotypical, like, drunk guy.
Like, they're the dudes that are like, what's up?
Oh, you have the bros.
You have the bros, which I guess might be the equivalent. But, like,
yeah,
which I guess, like,
that
but
is
even
the
them,
equivalent.
like, yeah. I guess a guy, it's like the girls who are all the single girls at the club. It's like all the single bros.
All the single ladies.
It's like all the single bros at the club. Like, you each get them with their boys or their girls, and, like, their worst drunk people come out.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, if you get, like, a guy and a girl, like, who are dating together, and you get them both equally drunk, the girl's gonna be more insane. And the guy's usually gonna apologize to her.
Hey.
Hey, really? Prove me wrong.
No, you're right. Girls are just more...
And, like I said before, like, you
fun when they're drunk, okay?
They just don't care as much, which is endearing. Like,
exactly.
Good for you.
Exactly.
You go on that dance floor.
Right?
Because, like we said in the last hour, like, you could be worse. Like, you could be a worse person than a drunk girl at a club.
You didn't murder anyone.
Right. And, like, at the end of the day, like, they're a drunk girl just trying to have fun.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
But that's how they get in trouble.
Yeah.
Like, meaning, like, okay, that could...
I will say this. I think every group of drunk people, guys or girls, need a sober friend to kind of watch over them.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you need a sober friend to watch out for you.
1,000%.
Make sure you don't do anything stupid or illegal or...
1,000%.
Yeah.
That's why...
You need that clear mind.
There should always be a DD.
Yeah. Even if you're not driving, you need a DD.
Exactly.
Oh, goodness. So, yeah, I think our conclusion is just everybody's terrible. Because, again, like, I'm not... Like, we're not saying that we're great.
No.
Like, you and I, like, we're not...
No, I fully know I've probably done half of the stuff that we've talked about.
Yeah, like, I'm not awesome.
No. We all have our downfalls.
And, yeah, like we said before, like, I think you and I were talking about this, like, I'm sure that there are those single people out there that hate me. Like, I'm not saying I'm the best person in the world.
You're never gonna... Not everyone is not gonna like you.
Right.
Like, just in general.
Yeah.
Basic rule. Like, there's...
I don't know why. I'm great. No, I have my own faults, and I can go on for an hour about that.
Oh, I could too.
So, yeah, we're not perfect, but we just talk about, what we...
Doesn't downplay that these things still annoy us.
Yeah, right. And hopefully, like, a lot of this is, like, felt by some other people. Like
I'm sure. Because these are very common, like...
Yeah, I kind of went with, like, stuff that's very general. Like, I could get so personal.
Oh, me too.
I could get so personal with, like, personal examples and...
Oh.
Boy. But, yeah, I kind of went very general and, like, I think, like, what a lot of people also see wrong with the world.
To them.
Because, yeah, my biggest one was, like, people who are overly sensitive, who get offended by everything. Because, like, I think that's a big problem in the world right now.
I feel like it just makes you feel like you have to walk on eggshells.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's...
And, like, I don't want to do that. Like,
exactly. Well, it doesn't feel good.
Well, the world is terrible. I don't want to have it be extra terrible.
Right.
And...
Right. And that's... Whether or not, like... It should be, like, we should be more conscious of these things as a society.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, if it's more of, like, racism or, like...
Right.
In diversity, like, if someone's being overly sensitive about that, like, sure, we should always be more conscious of that, right?
Yeah, right.
But we don't need to always constantly feel like we're walking on eggshells.
Yeah.
About these topics, you know?
Like, that doesn't make either person feel good.
Exactly.
So, like, you're only hurting...
It's not productive to the conversation that needs to be held around those topics. So...
Yeah. Again, I don't like people.
I constantly say, and this is bad because I'm a therapist, but, like, I'd rather hang out with dogs.
Yeah. Like, my perfect version of heaven is just dogs. No people.
Dogs?
Okay, Robin Williams better be there, but, like, that's it.
And Chris Farley.
Chris Farley, too. Yeah.
My heaven better have Dana Carvey.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
So are we going to have the same heaven, or, like...
Probably.
Right?
Because I would like Chris Farley, Robin Williams, and Dana Carvey.
Yeah. All the comedic geniuses.
Dude, don't even get me started on Dana Carvey. I could go on. I love him.
Right?
He follows me on Twitter. It's my pride and joy.
Okay. Wow.
I tweeted one thing about him. He followed me back, and I was like,
really?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I just love him. He's great. He's a comedic genius.
Yes.
He's underrated.
Yeah, I think so.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Anyway,
I think that's like our conclusion.
Right. Yeah.
People are complex.
Yeah. They are.
And frustrating. And
just overall terrible. I think the moral of the story is dogs are great.
Agreed. I'd rather hang out with dogs.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess that's about it.
Yeah.
Wow. We got into some hot and heavy conversations, but it was fun. It was good. It was interesting. And hopefully...
They're very good, calm.
And hopefully people don't write me hate mail for this.
Yeah, right? Hopefully none of my clients
Wait
listen
a minute.
to this.
I'm wealthy. Are you talking about me?
Right?
No, if I'm friends with you, I'm friends with you. Shut up.
Yeah, right?
And if I don't talk to you, I might hate you. There's a chance.
So now we know you're...
Right.
You're lying.
My whole life is a lie. Every friendship I've made is just false.
Wow.
I don't like anybody.
Well, then I'm gonna go.
Okay. If I do my podcast alone next week, you guys know what happened.
Find out how Dave really feels about me.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Right? It's great. But anyway, we'll let you get on with your day.
Thanks for listening.
Have a good week, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.